Okay, good morning, everyone. I'll call this meeting of Heritage Oakville to order. For anyone watching us, because we are live streaming as well as here live in the council chambers, and they want to follow along with the agenda that we're doing today, they should log on to oakville.ca and navigate the tabs. It's relatively easy now, and you will find the agenda and the materials that we're using for our meeting today, and you can follow it along. Delegations are permitted if people are in attendance here. Anyone in attendance may delegate at the proper time. For those who wish to delegate remotely, in order to set things up, they are requested to advise the clerk's department by noon on the business day prior to any meeting. Again, you can do that online, and there's a relatively easy way to do that, to set yourself up as a delegate. We have two items today, two discussion items and two information items on the agenda today. So we'll get right down to business. Do we have any regrets, Madam Secretary?
It appears that Carrie Colburn is regrets today.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest with respect to any matter before the committee today? No, good. And before we get into our work, I'll remind everybody that we are an advisory committee and that any recommendations that we make today will go to the Planning and Development Council for its meeting on the 20th of May at 6:30. And anyone wishing to delegate at that meeting, just remember what I said earlier. So, confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. These have been circulated. Is there any comment from anyone about these? Would somebody like to give me a motion to approve these? Bob? Thank you very much. So we have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there any further discussion on that? Is there anyone opposed to that motion? The motion is carried and the minutes are approved. So our first discussion item is 4.1, the Heritage Grant Program recommendation, and Kirk is going to lead us through that.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. The first item today is a good news story about the Heritage Grant Program. I have a few slides to go through to summarize our program, and then the committee recommendation. There we go. Here's actually a great picture, one of my favorite pictures for Halton Region. It's the Cork House, also known as the Bigger House. My relatives came from this house once upon a time. Just a little heritage fun fact for everybody. It's located up Neagawa near Dundas. It's not in the original location, but it's a beautiful house, and it's, I believe, the oldest heritage structure in the region. On to the details of the program. So 2025 was the 12th year of the Heritage Grant Program. $180,000 were available this year, and there are some additional funds rolling forward from previous years for $24,000. We had over 50 inquiries to the program, and 38 applications were received. Those applications in total were $286,000 in terms of requests. All the applications have been recommended to receive funding, although not every request is fully funded. We had to divide up our funds, but to hit every application, to fund every application. They're really priority restoration projects, what we focus on, so structural and windows, public realm type attributes. In total, over the years, 12 years, the Heritage Grant Program will have provided over $1.244 million in funding, thanks to this community and this council, and this committee as well. And that's has assisted in over 290 restoration and conservation projects leveraging over $7 million in terms of investment. So that's I think it's a pretty great track record here. In terms of the application review, we struck an evaluation working group that met on March 27th. And there were a number of projects included that I'll highlight as we go through. But here's a summary of some of the work that we're reviewing in terms of the Heritage Grant Program. So structural repairs to a church, a place of worship, Tree care, arborist work to restore and conserve a 300-year-old oak tree across 4 heritage properties. So this is really important to take care of a shared tree across different properties. Stained glass window restoration, as I mentioned earlier, some of those public realm components, the pieces of heritage attributes that are noticed from the street by passersby. So it's a really important type of project. Structural repair, beams, so roofs. It's really important to keep your roof on a heritage structure. Foundations and other type repairs to historic residences. The program features some masonry repairs to the brick walls at the St. John's United Church and repairs to the entrance stairs at Ennisclair, which is the former Cox estate, is now the location of some apartments. There we go. Not only is my voice a little scratchy, but the buttons are struggling this morning as well. So here's an image of the Cox estate, formerly, which is now a location of some apartments in older Oakville. And the grant is being provided. You can see the stairs here in need of repair, so the grant is focused on repairing those formal entranceway. Here we have an image of Knox Presbyterian, downtown Oakville. And this is where we're going to be replacing some windows and some repairs on heritage attributes related to the glazing there on that property. Here's a photo of the 300-year-old oak tree circled in red on the upper slide in the corner. So that's the one mentioned earlier, spanning 4 properties that'll have some work done in order to conserve it and improve its health. And then another example on the lower left image of typical structural repair that we might undertake to preserve a floor in a property. Here's an example of the St. John's United Church, again in Old Oakville, downtown Oakville, and there's ongoing support for repairing masonry work on this property. So staff recommendation before you and detailed in the report is that Appendix A, projects and funding attached, titled 2025 Heritage Grant Program Recommendations, April 10, 2025, be endorsed. I'm available for any questions to the committee. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Kirk. I know that all of the committee, and particularly the members of the subcommittee, really appreciated the tremendous amount of work again that the staff put in to just get everything so well structured for us. It made us look quite bright and knowledgeable and able to navigate all the difficult decisions that had to be made. Really appreciate that. Are there any questions of Kirk? Jonathan.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Just a question for staff. The additional funds that came this year, I think it was around $25,000. Is that something we would expect each year or in the future, or was it a bit of an anomaly? I know it may have been left over from the COVID period, so maybe you could just elaborate on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the committee member. The additional funds this year are a result of unspent grant funding from previous years, including the COVID era, if you will, where we saw a decline in work being able to be undertaken. And so those funds roll forward to each year to be used. And we actually have, I believe it's detailed in the report, but there's a period of time that the funds are available after they're awarded, and then there's an opportunity for applicants to renew if they wish to continue to have access to those funds. And when those periods have passed, then we can put the funds back into the general reserve and use them on new projects.
Okay, thank you. So we wouldn't sort of depend on that in the future, that there'd be, an additional amount of that size. Is that fair to say?
That's correct. It was okay. Not typical, that amount.
Okay, thanks for that clarity. And would you expect in the future, I know with the Heritage Program, we've registered, I forget what the exact number is, but quite a few properties in the last 2 years. And there's maybe a bit of a transition period where people get used to, the heritage repairs and higher costs. Would you expect we'll see increased demand in future years for the grant, just with the pool kind of increasing?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's what we expect, although we haven't seen the numbers come in yet, but that was one of the features for the designation project. One of the ways of encouraging designation was the availability of grant funding to help with property maintenance.
Okay.
So that we would expect an uptick in permit activity for sure.
Okay, thanks for that clarity. And appropriate time, I'd be happy to move it.
Thank you. Yes, it was good to notice that there was an actual budget increase as well as the leftover money, but I think it's obvious to everybody concerned that the amount of work being done and the amount that could properly have been granted within the rules was very much less than the amount of money available. So we're still running behind. We're still, well, in past years we've been running on 70-cent dollars. I think this time we got more closely to 80-cent dollars, but there is still, even with the current group of designated buildings, there's still an insufficiency of funding, shall we say. Okay, any other questions of Kirk? No? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so is there any further discussion on this? No? And Councillor McNeice has indicated that he would move the staff recommendation that we recommend to Planning and Development Council that this report be endorsed. Is there any further discussion on that? Anyone opposed to that motion? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so our next item is 4.2, which is a heritage permit application for a new residence at 81 Allen. And I believe later we will have a delegation on that. It's Rick Metellian, and I think he's going to be online, and I hope Rick is standing by so we can listen to our, but he's not, Madam Secretary. Okay, well, we'll hope he comes in at the proper time. Okay, Kirk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just bringing up the slides here. So as mentioned, item 4.2 is a permit application for 81 Allen Street in Older Oakville. It's actually part of the 1st and 2nd Street Heritage Conservation District, although it faces into Old Oakville. The property is located at the intersection of Robinson and Allen, 1 block south of Lakeshore Road. And this opening slide really helps to summarize what the committee is being asked to participate in today. We have an existing heritage permit approved for the property that provided for first part a demolition, second part a design of a new build. The property itself is non-contributing to the Heritage Conservation District. So the image of the approved design is on the left side of this slide. And what committee is looking at today is an application to amend that permit to provide for a new design, which is the image located on the right-hand side of this opening slide. So that's just a bit of an overview. The need to amend the permit arises from the fact that the design is substantially different, and I'll get into some of those details. The report also details it quite well. But some of the main aspects of the property remain consistent with the original approved application. So the subject lands, as mentioned, at the intersection of Robinson and Allen in just south of Lakeshore Road East in Older Oakville. As the slide indicates, part 2 here. Designated as part of Part 5 designation under the 1st and 2nd Street, and it's a non-historic, non-contributing property. This is the original dwelling located at the site that was demolished as part of that first permit that was issued. The original approval from this committee, or actually recommendation to approve and then subsequent approval by council, was in November 2024. And as mentioned, it provided for the demolition of an older residence, 1950s, and the construction of a new 2-story residence. That residence was actually going to be 2 separate dwelling units within it. So it's one of the new features of the new design to be just a detached dwelling. A single detached. The demolition has occurred, as mentioned, and a new design has come in with some significant characteristics for committee to consider. Here's an image of the proposed new residence, two-story red brick stone foundation. It has the same site plan. It occupies the same amount of space as the approved design. It also meets the height of the guidelines, and it has the same location for driveway access on the one side of the property. That would be to the south. Here are just some images of the elevations or renderings, again, detailed in the report further. So I won't spend a lot of time on these slides, but it does, as it goes through the report, it contrasts the approved design with the new applied for design. This slide highlights how the roof lines of the new design have been simplified. The windows are more consistent in their design as well. And then there's more traditional elements in this design, such as the bricking over top of the windows, which is known as a voussoir. That was a new word for me this morning. Here's another view of the rear elevation of the property, again with some more contemporary window design, as well as that bricking mentioned earlier. Here's a side elevation, again simplified. There's no need for access to two separate residences here. It's just a single detached dwelling, and so the new design is a bit more simplified in that regard. And here's again the image of it, a rendering of the proposed design. And here's an image, again, in a little bit larger format of the approved design. So they're very similar in terms of their appearance and the site, the site plan, how much space they occupy on the site, and the height as well. In terms of the heritage assessment, been touching on that a little bit going through the slides, but here's a quick summary of some of the key characteristics setting it apart from the approved design. The scale and massing are generally the same, so not exactly set apart. The height is within the permitted zoning. The style of residence, the architecture, the finishing, the cladding is a bit more traditional and known as a Georgian inspired style. It's also a symmetrical style. It has 3 bays, contemporary elements added to a central entrance bay. The proportion of glazing, that's the amount of windows, is within the guidelines of the 1st and 2nd Street Heritage Conservation District planning guidelines, and that's does not exceed 30%. The red brick cladding also is a preferred finish for that district plan, and the materials are generally appropriate: brick, stone, aluminum clad, wood windows. The main entrance faces the street, another feature for this part of Oakville that's preferred. And there's conservation of a mature tree on the property along the street. So before you, and as detailed in the report, is a staff recommendation, is that the heritage permit originally approved for the demolition and construction of a residence be amended to replace the new design as attached in the report, Appendix B, and that the conditions of that permit continue to remain in effect. And that's essentially that the final finishes will come to staff for sign off as it goes through the construction process. I'm available for any questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk, and thank you for introducing and helping us to understand that there is an approval, and that was given in November. So it's ticking away on its 2 years for completion clock. And the amendment here, I see that was deemed complete on March the 26th, and council has to deal with it by June the 24th. So that's that second window, but there already is an approval. So if this one didn't get approved, they could continue to build what was already approved. Demolition has already happened because the new structure is going on essentially the same footprint. I think that was an important element too. So yeah, so we've got a change. Okay, any questions of Kirk? No? And Councillor Gittings, I can see you there, and I presume you would attract my attention in some way if you wanted to say something right now.
And sorry, Mr. Chair, we do have Rick on the line as well to answer any questions.
Good, we'll get to that. Good. Thank you very much, though, for letting me know he's on. I can see you, Rick, on the picture. Right, so there are no further questions for Kirk. So I would ask for the delegation for the applicant. So Rick, I hope you were hearing what was said in the presentation. So if you want to share anything with us, please go right ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, committee, and thank you, staff, for the amount of time we've actually had I've had a fair bit of conversation with some of the members of the committee and with staff prior to coming forward to this meeting. As was indicated, yes, there was an approval that I know the committee looked at previously that happened last year. What happened was that it's the same owner as happened last year. For some reason, the owner's ideas changed, and the owner approached me and indicated that he wanted to make some major changes to the design. He wanted to go a little bit of a different route. As indicated, he had previously expressed that he wanted to have something that was set up as effectively 2 units, 2 apartments kind of thing, one above the other. That was no longer something that he wanted. What he wanted instead, what this house has the potential. There's a main floor master bedroom suite, which has the potential if someone wanted to divide it off. So someone could create a small secondary suite if they wanted to in the house, but the intention is for this owner that it will be a single family home. The owner as well indicated to me that he wasn't happy with the elevations, that he felt there were too many sloping roofs, and he wasn't happy with the materials and so on, and asked me to take a brand new fresh look at it and to do something that was much more traditional. But as indicated, because the demolition had started and because the shoring work on the site has started and so on, and the intention was to move forward with this as not an entirely new design, but effectively a major change to it. So as indicated with the staff comments, the idea is that the footprint of the building hasn't changed, the siding of the building hasn't changed, the overall height of the building hasn't changed. The massing is certainly different in terms of its detailing, but the massing from the standpoint of the overall size of the street, that all hasn't changed. But I think what I've done is I have created something that is more traditional. I do believe that it will, I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm making any negative comments about the design before, but I think this one will sit very nicely on the site. I think it will sit very nicely at the end of Robinson Street. This is, of course, a very prominent site. And I think the symmetry of the house, the detailing of the house, the red brick, I think it's a good match for the site. And I have to say that I think that that the discussion that I went through with the members of the committee who were giving ideas and giving feedback and so on was very positive. And I think that we've developed something that I really, I have to say, I'm proud of. So with those comments, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Thank you, Rick. So are there any questions of Rick? Nope. Okay, Rick, don't go away. But okay. There are no questions at the moment. Okay. I believe there is another registered delegation for this item. Thank you. So if you would attend the podium, give your name and serial number to the secretary.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee. My name is Liam Rondeau, and I serve on the board of directors of the Oakville Lakeside Residents Association, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the association regarding the application at 81 Allen Street, which lies within the 1st and 2nd Heritage Conservation District and directly faces the Old Oakville Heritage Conservation District to the west. Both districts are within the boundaries of our association, and changes on this site will have a visible impact on the heritage character of the surrounding area. We appreciate several positive changes from the earlier proposal. The shift toward a more traditional Georgian-inspired design, the use of red brick, and the incorporation of traditional materials for the windows are very welcome improvements, and these elements are more sympathetic to the character of the district. However, we have a key concern involving the massing, scale, and rhythm of the front elevation, specifically the 2-story wall of glass prominently located at the center of the facade. Section 4.3.3.7 of the Heritage District Guidelines for 1st and 2nd Street state that windows in the new development shall not negatively impact the heritage character of the district, and that they should consider the historic solid to void ratios and the rhythm of windows and bays. And in the district, this void ratio has ranged from 15 to 35%. And while we acknowledge that the void ratio falls within this range, the issue lies not in the numerical value, but in the visual concentration and placement of that glazing. Unlike the distributed rhythm of openings typical in traditional homes and sympathetic new builds within the district, this design clusters a disproportionate amount of glazing into a single dominant central section. And this creates the appearance of a two-story wall of glass akin to something having commercial uses, which disrupts the facade's rhythm and scale. Furthermore, this feature is positioned prominently at the front of the home, unlike other examples in the district where larger glazed sections are generally recessed or located at the rear. The OLRA believes that this design choice is incompatible with the spirit and intent of the 1st and 2nd Street guidelines, specifically due to the dominance and central positioning of the glazing and risks undermining the established heritage character of both the 1st and 2nd Street and Old Oakville Heritage Conservation Districts. We respectfully request that the committee considers whether the proposed front elevation truly does align with the spirit and intent of the guidelines, and we believe a revised design and one that distributes window voids more evenly across the facade would better reflect the rhythm, proportions, and character of the district. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Liam. And you only used up about 2 or 3 minutes of your available 10, but thank you for that.
Perfect.
Right, are there any questions of the delegation? No? Okay, thank you very much. So I don't believe there are any other delegations for this, so we're now confined to the board. Any discussion? Jerry, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the delegation for a well-presented presentation. Again, this is a very special site. We've identified that many times, and in our last meeting with the previous proposal, this building will be the terminating vista that stands at the east end of Robinson Street. And it's a very rare architectural opportunity for a grounding architectural statement. And, you know, we appreciate on the committee that the architect and the client has come forward on our pre-committee meetings to work with Sue and staff on massaging a design that would be amenable. But I have to agree with the delegation, and I think that there's still a disconnect from the written statement of description of integrating within the Oakville vernacular architecturally and the actual visual presentation of the building. I think the two elements on the side, on either side, buttressing the central area works well, and they do provide a stately presence to terminate the Robinson vista. But again, I don't think it's hit the mark. I think there's still a massaging required on the central piece, the entry area. It does have a commercial element language to it, and I think it's almost there. I think that there's you know, the entrance still appears a little bit somewhat unresolved. It doesn't still speak to the Oakville vernacular, the Oakville architectural language, and I think that can be resolved by, we've mentioned before, a quick walk around the block or the area will show similar Georgian stately buildings that resolve entrances and vista termini very well. So, you know, we appreciate how far we've come with this application, but I have to agree with the delegation. I think it's not quite there, and there's a little bit of massaging yet to do on the front facade, with particular to the central entrance area. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jerry. Anyone else got any comments to make? Jason?
I'd just like to echo and agree with delegation and with Jerry. I don't think the building is in the context for the vernacular, repeating what the guys have said. The choice of the materials is going to be so important to this, and how that red brick also plays out It's great in this sort of dusky look, but what will it look like in the sunlight during the day? Walking by, looking at the area, for me, it just doesn't hit the mark at all. Thank you.
Okay, George?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the two speakers, the Lakeside residents and Jerry and Jason, has really said better, or have put the situation better than I can. But I had concerns when we had the pre-con meetings as well about those exact same points. But I wasn't certain that anyone was, in fact, paying attention. But because of all the other matters that were ongoing. But I agree completely with both both previous speaker colleagues and the Lakeside residents. I think they put it much better than I ever could. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, George. Yep, Bob?
Another contribution to making this look commercial, I think, is the wide driveway in the front. It looks as if there's parking for customers visiting the building. Certainly, I would have preferred to see that as green space, and the driveway just run along the edge of the property at the width it is beside the house.
Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to add to that? Okay. Well, I'm getting a sense from the committee that there is some concern, perhaps particularly with respect to the glazing and its concentration. It's well within the limit, but the way it's concentrated is not meeting our expectations. There's some concern about the overall, the cladding. Is that what you were saying, Joe? You're not sure about the brick? So we have some issues. So without prejudging what the committee want to do about it, but I'll just suggest a couple of things. I don't know, Madam Secretary, when the Planning and Development Committee meets with respect to this June the 24th deadline that we have.
The next meeting of Planning and Development is on May 20th.
Yeah, but the one after that?
One after that should be beginning of June. I will double check. The next meeting would be June 2nd.
Okay, because where I was sort of going here is that perhaps we could defer the application. I think the issues raised could be dealt with just a little bit more time, is really what I'm saying. Rather than say outright no and reject the application, which we could also do, it would have the same effect. But if we deferred it, there is within the approval period time for us to get it at our next meeting and still have time to get that to Planning and Development Council before the deadline expires on June the 24th. So that's one way to deal with it. And I'm just feeding information to the committee. Somebody would have to digest that and give me a motion, perhaps, to approve the staff recommendation, and we'll deal with it that way.
And Mr. Chair, there will be another Planning and Development meeting on June 16th as well.
That's even better. It gives more time for us to deal with it and staff to get it bundled up and put onto the agenda for the council. Okay, so no, Councillor Gittings.
Thank you, Chair. I'd be happy to move deferral at the appropriate time for the next cycle. I'd appreciate hearing from Rick, the delegation. He's got his hands up there. Just curious on his feedback.
Yeah, well, technically the delegation is over, but So, and we don't get into debate with the process. But Rick, if you've got something that you think might be helpful, then I'm happy to let you speak.
Thank you, Chair. I can understand, and I certainly heard the concerns from the members of the committee. I'm very happy to continue to work and find something that would be amenable. That's not an issue. In this case, because of the unusual situation where the demolition has happened, there's actually a building permit in place for the previous design. And the client would like to begin to proceed with construction, and he can, given the fact that he has that permit. I would ask the committee if it would be possible, if the committee's concern is things like brick color. We're certainly happy to work with that. That won't, we have lots of time to understand what options there are available. And if the committee's concern is really confined to that to that center part of that front elevation, if the committee would consider something that would give us an approval for the rest of the design now, that would let us proceed with the engineering, that would let us proceed with potentially making an application for a revision to the building permit. That would really help us from a construction standpoint. And so if we could do that and then address that front elevation, the details of that front elevation later, that would be extremely helpful to me. So thank you for letting me make that comment. If the committee could do that or could consider doing that, I find a way to do that, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think what we've heard is that would essentially delegate it to staff to deal with this, because that would be saying that the application is approved, subject to the staff resolving the following issues. I'm not sure I'm sensing, Rick, and I understand your difficulties here, but I'm not sure I'm sensing from the committee that that's the way the committee wants to go. I think the committee wants to remain seized of the issue. So I think what we're looking at is a deferral. And within that time, you can work with that. And I don't know what other work you could do, Rick. I'm sorry. Okay. So is that the case, Councillor Gittings? Is that what your sense of your motion would be, that the application be deferred so that the applicant can resolve the issues raised with the committee and bring it back to us at our next meeting?
It certainly would be, Chair. I'm just curious if we could hear from staff regarding Rick's proposal. I'm not, I think they'd be in a better position to state whether that is something that's possible to have work continue based on a final design. I'd just appreciate hearing from staff on that.
Okay, that would be helpful, Kirk.
Thank you, through you, Chair, to the member. I think staff would prefer the deferral route, which would allow, as you indicated, committee to remain seized of the issue. We feel that the issues raised here in committee today merit coming back to committee for another consideration. Yeah. There is time in the calendar to do so. We have Heritage Oakville in the calendar for the 27th of May, and those two other council dates available in June in order to bring forward an approval.
Yeah. So it's not a long deferral. And to answer your question, I think, Council, directly, there will not be a new building permit issued until Council has given its approval to the heritage application. And so that was Rick's problem. He wanted to get to work on the rest of the building on the assumption that fixing the middle part wouldn't change the basic fundamental work that would have to be done to begin with. But I'm not sure we have a route to do that. I think the committee wants to remain seized of it. Okay, Councillor McNeice.
Thank you, Chair. Just a logistical thing. I know in planning and development, we've been canceling meetings occasionally, just we haven't had a full agenda, so maybe we try to just hold it for that first meeting in June in case the second one gets canceled.
That would be great, and I'm sure Rick would want that to happen anyway, because that gives him another couple of weeks on his otherwise cramped timeline. Okay, thank you for that. So that's information for staff and for Rick to know. So we have a motion then from Councillor Gittings that the application be deferred so that the issues raised around the glazing and materials be brought back to the committee for further consideration. Okay, so that's what I'm hearing. So that's the motion. Is there anyone opposed to that motion? Nope, that's the motion that's carried. So the matter is deferred till our next meeting, and we hope we get it all resolved then, Rick. And there will be, I'm sure, discussions with you and the staff in the meantime to assist that process. So thank you very much indeed.
Yes, and thank you, and thank you, committee and staff.
Okay, thank you. Right, so our next item of business is information items, and 5.1 is the old Oakville Heritage Conservation District Plan and Guidelines, and is there any update on that? Has it all? It's all done.
Another good news story, Mr. Chair, through you to the committee. As everyone has participated over the last few years, the Old Oakville Heritage Conservation District Plan and Guidelines has been approved and adopted under bylaw, and we have cleared the appeal period of April 17th. So I'll say unofficially, here at the staff level, we haven't seen any appeals come through. Normally, it is fairly quick, but so we feel good about it coming into effect with no appeals at the present. We'll be able to confirm that through clerks as the long weekend shakes out, et cetera.
Yep. So that's great to know that. And then 5.2, the residential zoning bylaw review.
Yes, I can deal with that one, Mr. Chair. So this is just a heads up that we will be having an open house on May 14th. You'll be getting information about this shortly by email. So the open house is to look at the zoning, the current zoning in the 3 residential heritage conservation districts. There is a larger zoning project being undertaken by the town right now looking at all of the residential zoning in South Oakville. So this is part of that project, but we decided to have, there's been 2 open houses for the larger project, which were held April 9th and 10th, and we're going to have an additional one specifically on the 3 heritage districts, just because it's a little bit unique. So again, you'll be getting information by email, hopefully this week on that, and you're welcome to attend. It'll be May 14th, 6 to 8 p.m. In the South Atrium here at Town Hall, and just looking for any feedback in terms of any concerns you have with the existing zoning and looking at some options that staff are proposing for updates to the zoning for those areas. So I would love if you guys could attend, or you can provide information through a survey online as well, which you'll see information of. Thanks.
Okay, super. Thank you, Carolyn. Okay, so I think Sue wants to give me a motion to receive the information items. Thank you, Sue. So the motion is we receive them. No one's opposed to that motion. The information items are received. So the date and time of our next meeting is May the 27th in the council chambers. So, Bob, you've given me a motion to adjourn. So thank you, as usual, everybody, for the gift of your time this morning. And the meeting is adjourned.